This is Michael Savage. Never in our history as a nation have we lived through such a phase of internal destruction, external threats, and a complicit media that threatens to bring down the entire nation to a state of complete confusion and rubble. We see a clearly demented president suffering dementia. It looks like advanced Parkinson's disease with the rigid hands, the gait, the wandering off stage, and yet the lying bastards in the media, these evil, lying propagandists, tell us that what we see is not what we see at all, that we're being deceived by the right in America. But what do you think? What do you think? Are we being deceived by a corrupt right-wing media? Or is this really a demented president who belongs in an old age home to get the care that he desperately needs? What do you think? Well, I know what it is. Anyone who's had a parent go into a senior living center or assisted living and has seen the various floors of assisted living, as people get sicker, they move them up and up and up. It's a sad thing to watch. Those who are not putting them away for the caring needs are committing elder abuse, just as they commit child abuse against our children, abuse against our borders, abuse against our language, abuse against our culture. They're now trying to abuse our brain using that psychotic little lying thing that works for him with the curly hair, the Haitian. The only reason she gets away with it is because she's black and a lesbian. I'll say it like it is. I don't really care if you, what do you think she was picked for? Her IQ? She was picked because she's Einstein? She was picked because she's black and a lesbian, and that made her bulletproof in their minds, so she can get away with lying right to their face. And the schmucks sit there in the press pool and don't say anything like, shut the F up. Shut up. You're a lying little witch. Get off the stage. Get away. You're a liar. That's what they should say to her. She's like Howdy Doody up there saying, oh, no, it's all a deep fake. Nothing wrong with him. So we're going to talk about the reality as I see it and as you see it. I was on Newsmax TV earlier today, and I began with a bad joke, and I'll tell you the same bad joke. It's a bad sexist joke from the 70s. A woman comes home and finds her husband in bed with another woman. The man says, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? Okay, you get the joke? It's not a joke. So we see a demented president stumbling around, setting the world on fire, unifying Russia with China, with North Korea, creating a gigantic BRICS movement against America, debasing our currency, flooding us with illegal aliens, most of whom are leeches, will never work. And we're supposed to say all is well? Are we this stupid and weak? Yes, I guess we are. I saw it coming for 30 years. Long before I was on radio, I was writing about it in my own journals. So let's look at the facts. For a number of years, 3 years it was, I ran a small research institute called the Alzheimer's Research Institute. And I didn't become the world's expert, but I studied everything known about Alzheimer's disease at the time. And I wrote a book. I write books. That's what I do. I write books because that's the lasting record. That's our lasting record. And back in 1987, I published the book, Reducing the Risk of Alzheimer's. It's out of date right now. I revised it in 1990, but it's still out of date, and it's not available. And if I were to revise it, here's what I would include. You're going to get it for free. How do we know if a person is suffering from dementia? Alzheimer's disease is only one form of dementia. How do we know? Well, I'll tell you, it's simple. It's not a mystery. Joe Biden should be subjected to a test for the biomarkers of dementia. You get indicators of what's happening in your body, don't you? You get your blood glucose tested, probably for diabetes. You get your cholesterol levels, your blood lipids. They're biomarkers of your cardiovascular disease profile. Well, now there are tests for dementia, brain changes. There are several different changes that go on in the brains of people with dementia, Alzheimer's included. And these are found in blood, other bodily fluids, organs, tissues. Some can be measured digitally. And these biomarkers help doctors and researchers track healthy processes, diagnose diseases, etc. Now, before the year 2000, and remember when I was in the Alzheimer's business, we didn't have these tests. The only sure way to know whether a person had Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia was after the person died through an autopsy. But thanks to advances in research, tests are now available to help doctors and researchers see biomarkers associated with dementia in a living person. So we, as the people of this nation who rule this nation, well, we once did, we the people no longer matter. It's run by a demented president and a bunch of the worst scumbags the planet has ever seen. Evil bastards of the lowest order. I've never seen anything like this. Now they're telling us we don't see the dementia. Now he didn't wander off the stage at the G7, and Moroni the phony of Italy had to run over there with those ugly culottes of hers and put her arm around him. Oh, no, he didn't wander off. No, you didn't see him wander off like a demented old man wandering out of an old age home with his schmendrick out wearing a pair of pajamas, with his schmendrick hanging out of his pants. No, he wandered off because he wanted to talk to another paratrooper. We didn't see him wander off. It's the deep fake from the conservative right, the right wing. Say the vermin in the media who should be put in prison for what they're doing to this country. Well, there's a simple answer to the whole question. Make the senile president take a test for dementia. But the problem is simple. It wouldn't even be him going in for the test. They'll get some healthy 30-year-old to go in and say, look at that, he cleared the test. So we're living in such a state of lying that it wouldn't even matter. But let's, for the sake of our own sanity, discuss this. You can do different things to test for dementia today. Maybe you should have it done if you're a liberal. Maybe anyone who votes for a Democrat should have their brains examined. You know, years ago, I published a book in 2005, widely used today, called Liberalism and Mental Disorder. It's become a literal fact. It is a mental disorder. If you watch them, it is a mental disorder. They warp and distort everything that they talk about. They change every reality. But if you want to test the brain of your daughter who just came back from NYU for the summer, and you think that she may be, brain dead or something, you have brain imaging to see different factors that may help diagnose Alzheimer's or other related dementia, or your husband if he's voting for Biden. Doctors also use brain scans to find evidence of other sources of damage, such as tumors or stroke. Brain scans used to help diagnose dementia include CT scans, MRI, and PET scans. You've heard of computerized tomography. You've heard of MRIs, magnetic resonance imaging. And you can take these MRIs, which will show whether areas of the brain have shrunk, and repeat scans can show how a person's brain changes over time. Evidence of shrinkage, such as those of Rachel Maddow, and those on MSNBC, I don't think there's any brain left in the brain cavity, may support a diagnosis of neurodegenerative dementia called liberalism, but really cannot indicate a specific diagnosis. But it shows a detailed picture of brain blood flow. And you can look at MRIs, as I said, computerized tomography, to study the structure and function of the brain in both healthy aging and in Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. There's also another test that can be done, positron emission tomography, PET scans. Brain imaging scan PET uses small amounts of a radioactive substance called a tracer to measure specific activity, such as energy use, or a specific molecule in different brain regions. PET scans take pictures of the brain, revealing regions of normal and abnormal chemical activity. Okay? So there's different type of PET scans. There's amyloid PET scans, which measure abnormal deposits of a protein called beta amyloid. Now, higher levels of beta amyloid are consistent with the presence of amyloid plaques, a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. Then we have today tau PET scans, which detect the abnormal accumulation of the tau protein. You can read about this yourself. You have FDG PET scans, fluorodeoxyglucose PET scans, which measure energy use in the brain. Glucose is a type of sugar. It's the primary source of energy for cells. And studies show that people with dementia often have abnormal patterns of decreased glucose use in specific areas of the brain. There is, of course, an invasive test with cerebrospinal fluid biomarkers. Those are pretty dangerous and pretty painful, but you don't have to use them. You don't have to go to lumbar punctures, but they are used. And so you can look at these biomarkers for dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. They exist. Everyone running for office, by the way, should take them over the age of 60, in my opinion. Absolutely everyone. And by the way, Trump should call his bluff and say, President, Mr. President, I want you and I to take these tests, and I want them to be monitored by a team of independent scientists to make sure it's really us going in for the tests. And let's see what's really going on inside our brains. Because as you know, the vermin, the filthiest vermin in the media's history, are now saying Trump is demented. Why are they doing it? Because they know that a good offense is the best defense. They learned it in the 5th grade while they kicked poor people around in school and threw them to the ground and beat them up because they're bullies, they're thugs, they're liars, they're thieves, they're criminals, and they're destroying America and the world. Good night. Thanks for being with me. I know you want me to do more, but I've given you so much right now for you to absorb. And the average attention span is 10 minutes or so on YouTube. So I've been with you for 11 minutes and 47 seconds. And there you have a very important show, Brain Changes in Dementia and Alzheimer's disease, that should be applied to Joe Biden immediately. We have the right as the people to know why they're lying to us. We know why they're lying to us, because they're liars, thieves, criminals, and they hate the country. And they'll do anything to stay in power, including keeping a very sick old man in the driver's seat when he can no longer drive. Would you let Joe Biden drive your children to school? Let me ask you that. Would you let a man drive your children to school whose hands freeze up like this while he's walking? Like this, freezing up, mark of Parkinson's disease. I don't need a biomarker. I can see them with my own eyes. Have you seen a relative go into an old age home or assisted living? What happens to older people, how sad it is when their hands lock up? He has Parkinsonian dementia. All the advanced tests I've given you just now, I don't have to have them done. He's a sick man, belongs in a care facility. That would put this to rest. Then what are we going to get next? Kamala Harris? Look who they picked. Look who they picked. Look who they picked to go along with the package that we got there in the White House. The corrupt one who received millions of dollars for him and his whole family from China over the years. Came out from Comer's committee. Checks were flying from China. You know, it's a crime family. As I said to you before, it's a crime family. Everyone sees this now who studies this. It's frightening. It's frightening to watch this. So we can, speculate of who they're going to put in. Do you think he's actually going to make it to the debate next week? Probably. Will he make it to the election? I don't know. How can he? How much longer can they inject him with hippopotamus colostrum from the deepest reaches of Africa to keep him going? God knows what drugs they're putting him on. God knows. It's sad to watch. They're probably talking to him at night saying, Joe, it's okay. You can do it. Hang in there. Hang in there, buddy. Have another spoon of ice cream here. Have another spoon of ice cream. You only have to do a few more debates with that evil Trump, and then it's home, free home. You'll be president again. And you don't have to give up Air Force One, and you can put everybody in jail who questions your business dealings and the business dealings of your family. Just hang in there, because otherwise we're all going to jail. Otherwise, we're all going to have to leave the country, because we will be imprisoned by what's coming out right now. It's coming on us really fast now, Joe. You got to hang in there for your son. You got to hang in there for your children. You got to hang in there for your wife. We're all going to go to coming out. So please hang in there. Just a few more months. You can make it, Joe. And then we're going to steal the election anyway. We're going to do it the same way we did it before. We got the ballots lined. We got them lined up in Pittsburgh already in the warehouses. They're sitting there. We got people coming in from Mexico with the ballots in their hands already through Catholic Charities and through the Jewish groups and the Protestant groups. We got it, Joe. We got it knocked. I mean, we got one of our plants in DHS. We got one of our plants in the FBI. We got one of our plants in the State Department. Joe, you don't have to worry. We own it all. This beats the Taquito bust out any day, Joe. Joe, no one can write a script like what we got going for you, Joe. Come on, you can do it. You've been doing it your whole life out of Delaware. Come on, man. Just a few more weeks and you're home free all. Then you can do whatever the hell you want. Okay? We're going to get you the sniff, the whole thing, whatever you want. You can sniff anyone you want, touch anybody you want. No one will see, Joe. It'll be done behind closed doors like it's done for all of us, Joe. You can get away with it. Don't worry. Don't worry about it, Joe. Now, don't worry about the stuff that leaks through to you sometimes that Russia has now joined with China and North Korea. Nothing to worry about. We could take them, Joe, because we've run sororities and fraternities and beaten everyone away who try to call us perverts and sickos and maniacs. We know how to beat them, Joe. And if necessary, we could just nuke them, Joe. We could just let our missiles fly off our submarines, Joe. We could just destroy Russia and China, North Korea. We could destroy Brazil. We could blow them off the map, Joe. And just think of the power we'll have if we kill everyone in the world who opposes us, Joe. Just hang in there, Joe. It's just a few more weeks. Well, if you think this is a laughing matter, then you really are demented and you ought to go have some blood tests done on your brain changes because this is not a laughing matter. Okay, this is not a laughing matter. But as I've shown you tonight, I don't know when you'll watch this. Some of you are watching it live and commenting it. Some of you won't watch this for a while. It'll be on YouTube for months. We have great YouTube shows. I have such a incredible array of remarkable shows. I don't want to repeat them. But I want to implore you to please download my podcasts because the podcasts are the lifeblood of all of these performances that I do for you are free, as are the podcasts. They're free. Let me be very clear. Podcasts are free. I have advertisers, but the numbers are lied to everywhere you turn because of things like NewsGuard and Media Matters. They've been after me for 28 years. They destroyed the advertising industry that wanted to advertise on my radio show for years. They went after every conservative. They belong in prison. And when Trump becomes president, I want them arrested. I want all of those in NewsGuard and Media Matters imprisoned for what they've done to this country. But number one, never forget what I've written to you for many years. I never forget who the head of the snake is. The number one enemy of America are none of the people I have mentioned. You must read A Savage Republic to find out who it is, but I'll tell it to you for free. Okay, I'm not selling you anything right now. It's the ACLU, the head of the snake. The head of the snake behind all of this downfall of America is the ACLU. They are the head of the snake. They are the ones who sue when we try to stop the criminals from coming over the border. And so the no borders Biden, the white supremacy myth, the lynching of white America, it's all the ACLU. And that's all you have to know. There's no more you have to know than what I've told you. The number one enemy of our survival, let alone the truth. The only thing standing between us and our survival is the ACLU. If they are not stopped, we'll all be imprisoned by the vermin on the left. They are naked criminals, naked communists. They are terrorists on every level, and they will put us all in prison, anyone who stands up to them. I'm telling you like it is. I've given you many warnings over the years. It's down to the wire. The ACLU is the linchpin to our survival. Unless they are unmasked and shown for who they are, what they're doing, we'll not survive this war upon America. They have armies of psychotic, degenerate, drug-addicted lawyers who sue everyone in America who stands for life and liberty and the American way. Anyone who stands for the Bible, anyone who stands for God, anyone who stands for the purity of women, anyone who stands for the beauty of children, the innocence of children, is attacked by the vermin, sick perverts in the ACLU. Every one of them. Every one of them is a criminal. Every lawyer working for the ACLU must be stopped before they destroy us all. It's a war out there. Only we're not fighting it. We're just talking about it. They're fighting for it. They're fighting it every day of their lives. They eat, drink, and sleep, destroying everything good about America. Every night while you're trying to go to sleep or read something nice to your daughter or your son, your little baby, your innocent baby who you brought into this world, they're trying to figure out how to have perverts destroy their minds in the schools. If you stand up at a school board meeting, they'll sick the FBI on you. You think the FBI is a pure organization today? Have you seen who they've hired? Have you seen who's taken over almost every agency in this country? Have you seen the halls of the CIA, which look like a bathhouse today? Yeah, you haven't seen it, have you? So all I can say to you, my friends, is that we're down to the wire. They're going to prop up this fake president for just a few more months to push him over the finish line, and then they're going to finish us off. Hit the like button, subscribe so you know when I'm going to go on, because I only go on when I want to go on. Thank God I'm no longer on the radio. It's in my rearview mirror. Remember, someone said when you said we should bring back UAC, I was right. House of Un-American Activities Committee. Remember how they laughed at them and called them every name under the sun? Remember what they said about UAC? UAC almost saved us in the 50s. Those hearings are so necessary today. Bring them all up on charges. Make them face America. If Trump wins, a lot of this is going to happen, and they know it, which is why they're panicking right now. But it almost doesn't matter because our vote has been nullified by fake elections, by fake ballots, etc. We know this. So what are we going to do about it? I can only do what I do. Last week, I got sick after a television show. I haven't been sick since I really got sick and wound up in a hospital in 2009. I was very close last week. And when you watch this, it could be another day. I did a show on Newsmax TV, and I got too emotional about it. I did a show when the Palestinian terrorists, the domestic terrorists called the Palestinian rioters, went on a subway car with their ugly, disgusting, filthy faces masked with that filthy Arafat scarf. And they went on a subway car and said, are there any Zionists on this subway car? Do you realize this is out of Nazi Germany? Do you understand we're now living in the early days of Nazi Germany under Joe Biden? I don't care whether he actually walks around with an armband. He doesn't. And I warned you 20 years ago on radio, 25, that when Hitler came back, he would not be speaking German, and he would not be marching to an Pa band. That's what I told you. Well, Hitler is back, and there he is. He's calling himself a friend of the Palestinians today. Where's the FBI? They should have brought in a task force and turned that city upside down and arrested everyone on that subway car, not for a hate crime, but worse, what they did on that subway car. Okay, and I got very sick that night after I did the show. I got very, very upset because I knew that the time had come to act. The time had come to act. Maybe it's time for you to act. Just as the eco-terrorists are destroying artworks in museums with impunity when they should have their hands cut off and they should be deported to a Siberian prison. You saw those bastards, what they did in England to Stonehenge, a 5,000-year-old iconic archaeological ruin. After all, we unleashed the U.S. Air Force on ISIS for destroying cultural heritage sites in Iraq and the Middle East, didn't we? We went to war under Trump to stop ISIS from destroying 11th and 10th century archaeological sites because the vermin called Islamofascists didn't like them. They wanted to wipe out a cultural history to prove that only their single book, the Quran, is the only book everyone should read on the earth. One book, the Quran. See, that's all they want. No culture, no Buddhism, no Hinduism, no Judaism, no Christianity. Islam über alles. Well, their minions are now on New York subway cars and on college campuses, and you're doing nothing. I've done my part. I should not have gotten so emotional about it. I've done my part. Are you doing your part? Do your part, stand up to them, and don't worry about the consequences. Otherwise, you're not going to even be able to worry about the consequences very soon. That's all I want to say is that's it. Subscribe to this YouTube program so you know when I next get in the state of mind and have the backup for the show. I have 12 pages of notes for today's show. 12 pages. I don't just blow out hot air out of my behind through my mouth like most people in the radio and news business do today. I tell you like it is. There are biomarkers for dementia, including Alzheimer's, and Joe Biden owes it to the American people to prove that he's mentally capable of the job, which we know he is not. I don't need a biomarker. I can tell you by the gait and the frozen hands and the loss of memory and freezing up and not knowing where he is that he's no longer there. It's a sad state in America that we even have to have this conversation. I used to joke years ago with book titles such as The Enemy Within. Well, the enemy is in. I did books such as Scorched Earth. Well, they're scorching the earth. There's only so much any man can do, and I've done all I can do. And very soon, I will leave the stage, or God will take me from the stage. I don't know which it is, because at a certain stage of your life, you don't really know what's coming tomorrow, do we? Do you really know? Have I done enough for this world and for you? I hope so, because I can't do much more. I reach a point in my thinking most days today, to get very clear with you, where I certainly could go on. I mean, I test my lucidity, by the way, by doing these shows and by doing Newsmax shows, and I watch the shows and see if there's any sign of slippage. This is my biomarker talking with you. If I see any signs of slippage in my speech or my delivery or my memory, I'll stop doing it. You'll never hear from me again, because I'm not going to become a Biden. I will not let my life be determined by how I look in those years that it's too late to even talk public. This man's legacy, if there is a legacy, will be that of a demented old fool who destroyed America and the world, while having his minions lie to the people and say what you see is not what you see. So I don't want to sound fatalistic, and say I've been to the mountain, I've seen the other side. I've been to the mountain, I've seen the other side. I am a transcendental person. I do see on the other side. I've been on the other side. I see through things, which is why those of you who are loyal to my messaging, to my performances, who've been with me for so many years, know this. I don't need the confirmation of the vermin in the media to tell you I know who I am and I know what I've done for the world. And I hate to be putting everything tonight in a past tense, but I had a very profound dream last night. I guess I should share it with you. Should I share it with you? I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not ready to go off the air. I'm not ready to go off the air right now. I know you want to hear the dream. So my mother went to the other world a long time ago. It's my beautiful mother in Queens, New York, in our little house. And she's cooking, and I visited her in my 40s. I think that's how old I was here, from one of my trips to Fiji or whatever. She was a lovely, quiet woman, never drank, never smoked. And she lived to 88, but towards the end, I saw things happen. It wasn't pretty. And it's the way of all flesh. Either we drop dead, like my father did, rest his soul, and that's the end of it, or we suffer slowly into a assisted living. That's all. That's the beauty of life. No one gets out of here. No one gets out of here with a free pass. Nobody. You're all going to suffer and die, whether you know it or not. And we're watching a man suffering in front of our eyes. But it's bad enough that he's suffering. He's bringing the nation to the gutter, destroying us. And he has legions of liars lying for him. So let me tell you the dream, and then I'm going to conclude. So my mother passed away many years ago. I remember it to this day. I had to go to Florida, and the whole thing, the funeral, it was so complex. She was living in Florida, and then we had to ship her remains to New York, and the burial in New York, and oh my goodness, it was so complex. It's not easy passing away on this earth. Not easy at all. So mom died. Okay, so you live with it. All right, so I have a dream last night. I don't think of her often. I have the picture of her. I talk with her once in a while in my mind, speak with her occasionally. I say, Mom, what would you do? You know, kind of stuff like that. So last night I have a dream, and here's the dream. I'm on dry land with my mother looking at a large body of water like a sea, a calm sea, not an ocean that was pounding at us, but a flat, calm, lake-like sea, but it was vast. It covered the entire perimeter. I said, let's walk out on this spit of land. There was a spit of land that went out on into the water, like, like an island. And we walked out to look closer at the water, look more closely. And then we turn around and suddenly there's no land mass left to bring us back to dry land. It's all water. We're on water. And my mom is scared. And she says, Michael, I'm frightened. I said, Mom, don't worry. Grab the back of my coat and follow me because I can feel the dry land under my feet. I know just where it is. And I know how to lead us back to dry land. And lo and behold, I knew where the landmass was. I felt it in the dream. I was literally walking on solid ground under the water. You couldn't see. It was under the surface. And we walked back onto the land and was safe. So what was that? What was that dream? What was that dream? Well, the first interpretation is I rescued my mother. But the later interpretation that I had today was different than that. Is my mother rescued me by having me rescue her in my dreams. Because the years I worked in the Fiji Islands collecting medicinal plants in the, late 60s, 70s, I spoke to healers. I was on out islands with all black people. I was the only white person. Yes, it matters. And I met with people who practice witchcraft, and they talked to me and they taught me many things. And I was speaking to them about other worlds. And they told me that dreams are the opposite of reality, not to worry about them all the time. So what that dream was is my mother was warning me away from water. I'm a boater. I have been. I sold my last boat a year ago, and I've been thinking about buying a new boat. Really conflicted about it. I love the water. I'm very water oriented. It's strange when you think about it. I heard my mother was afraid of water. I only heard it last night from my sister that my mother feared water all her life. I didn't even know this. How did I get the ability to steer a boat? And I had a 40-ton boat at one point. It was a 60-foot boat, 40 tons, 80,000 pounds, twin engines. I used to go out on it with Teddy all the time. I never feared the water. Never. I never looked out and got a fear of it. I just had no fear. I still don't have fear of water. But I had a dream last night that all the land was covered with water. And I was to have looked at a new boat today, strangely enough, which I did. And I'm not going to buy it because of the dream. The dream told me stay away from the water. Your time on the water is past. It's in your rearview mirror. You've done your boating. You've had wonderful boats all of your adult life. You don't need another boat right now. And so there's more to the dream than that. There's a lot more symbolism to it than Michael and his boat. There's a lot more to it. Maybe you're my mother. Maybe I can lead you onto dry land. Maybe God put me here to lead America onto dry land. Do I know? Those are things I don't know. Within all of us, there is a prophetic piece. Within all of us, there's a divinity. We've been taught that. Some of us have more of it than others. Some have none of it. But within all of us, even the worst person on earth, unless they've been destroyed with drugs or whatever, there's a spark of divinity. That's what they teach people in prisons. And many people will read the Bible and find themselves again, the good part of them, the kernel, and they can be restored and healed and come out of prison and be a useful citizen. But what is that dream? I know that many of you are going to interpret it. Noah's Ark. Maybe there's a piece of Noah in me. But where is the ark? Where is the ark? Or maybe my subconscious senses an earthquake is about to hit California, and I happen to live very close to the water, and maybe the dream was warning me to get away from the water. Who knows? There are many ways to interpret dreams. I've read many books about dream interpretations, and there's many ways to look at things. But for the sake of our discussion right now, it seems that we're going underwater in this country under Joe Biden and these degenerate, sick, evil people around him. They're drowning us. They're submerging our nation. They're drowning us all. They don't care if they drown everyone in this country with their greed and their power madness. They wouldn't care if North Korea launched a missile at San Francisco. It wouldn't change anything that they do. The same ugly face of Charles Schumer, the same ugly faces. They wouldn't change. They look the same. They're all psychotic. It seems to me that we're ruled by very evil, satanic, psychotic people. And I'm not sure who wins in the end. All I know is this: we still have a chance. We have one last chance. And the nation's fate hangs in the balance like a loose tooth. Have a good night. I realize this is depressing to many of you, but it's enlightening to others. It can be enlightening or depressing depending upon your mindset. Okay? I can't walk on water, but maybe I can lead you to dry land through my preachings, my writings, and my teachings. God willing, may God be with us because we sure need him.